Hi, I'm Chad Pinkerton. This is Facebook Live. We're talking about the Vegas shooting. On the night that we're talking about conspiracy theories, we had some technical difficulties here. Sorry about the delay, folks. We're going to get right into this, and I hope you enjoy the session. We've got a number of the conspiracy theories to talk about. I'm going to let Joey kind of kick this off, and then we'll get straight into the topics, Joey.
All right, thank you, Chad, and thank you for joining us. Sorry about the technical difficulties, but we are here now. I do want to say that we have covered plenty of topics in the past, so if you're interested in any of the things that we have covered, you can always go to mandalaybayvictims.com, and you can see all of the videos and any of the posts that we have made before, and that's where we keep it all. Also, if you have any personal questions that you'd like to ask Chad or something that we don't cover tonight, you can always go to lasvegas@chadpinkerton.com. Just email there, and we'll try to cover everything at a later date. We are live, so if there's anything you'd like to ask right now, we will try to cover it. So I do appreciate that. Chad, I do want to start off with some of the more popular theories for the evening. One of the more popular theories is the connection with this shooting and ISIS. Particularly, there's information that there is some evidence, there's some credible evidence that's been leaked about this shooting being connected with ISIS. A Senator Scott Perry is the one who's claiming that he has this evidence. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Well, first of all, let me say that I'm not a conspiracy theorist. None of these conspiracy theories have any basis. There's no evidence to support any of these theories. The problem with the conspiracy theories is this. You take your focus away from what really happened, excuse me, and you focus it on these conspiracy theories, but what we need to be focused on, what Mandalay Bay, MGM, Live Nation, CSC, what they did wrong to cause this event that resulted in 58 people dead, over 500 people shot, 2,000 people injured, 22,000 people with PTSD. So as a lawyer, some of this is fairly annoying, but I'm going to be fair tonight and I'm going to talk about each subject. Let's talk first about Scott Perry, the senator. Fairly irresponsible conduct by him to say that there was a connection to ISIS. First of all, there is zero connection to ISIS. Nothing leaks this event to any terrorist group or activities. Mr. Perry went on TV and said that he had credible evidence. He was challenged by lawyers and the media to provide this credible evidence. He has no protection under the law not to reveal this information, and he refused to reveal anything. He made this statement in the middle of January, and we are now weeks later, and he's never come back. So let's talk about Mr. Perry. He's a politician. He wanted his 5 minutes of fame. I'd never heard of him before this, from Pennsylvania. But he got his 5 minutes of fame. And the funny thing is, we've not heard from him since. I don't think he liked the feedback. He had no evidence. He still has no evidence. There's no connection to ISIS. Joey, did I answer that?
I believe so. So you're saying Scott Perry, he's not coming forward with any of the evidence that he claims that he has. But what about some of the evidence of the room photos? There's apparently maybe some photos out there that show some ISIS material sprawled throughout the room.
Well, we've all seen the pictures, Joey. They've been released. We've seen the photographs from the police report. And if anybody can show me one picture with any material from an ISIS information packet or related to ISIS or any terrorist group, please email it to me because I've looked at these photos in great detail. It's not there. Look at the inventory that the police took. It's not there. So the conspiracy theorists would say this, well, because it's not there, they must be hiding it, so it must be there. Well, okay, hogwash. I mean, show me some evidence. I'm a lawyer. Don't tell me what you believe. Tell me what you can prove. There's not a single picture out there with any of this material in there. It's not in any part of the inventory. Nobody said this from a federal stance that this was connected to ISIS. It's simply not connected to a terrorist group.
All right.
Joey?
No connection to a terrorist group. Now, we are live here, so if you have any information or if you have any questions that you'd like to drop in the comments, I will see it and we will try to cover it. If you have any personal questions, you can always email lasvegas@chadpinkerton.com, and you can always go to mandalaybayvictims.com if you want to see any of the other videos that we have created. Chad, let's move on to some of the employees of the casino. Mandalay Bay has a valet. I believe his name was Chad Nishimura, and there's reports that he was the valet for the evening, and he's the one who might have helped with the bags, parked the car, and now there's reports that he is MIA. He's disappeared. There's reports that he's not even on Facebook anymore. Do you have any opinion on where he is or if this is even true?
Okay. Well, Chad, this gentleman who was a valet, did handle some of the bags, and he made a statement on the record that nothing about Mr. Paddock was strange, nothing about his bags were strange. Everybody took that as he was having conflicting information with the police and what they were saying, but it didn't conflict. All he said is there wasn't, quote, crazy bags. Well, we know that the first 2 days were the days where most of the bags were brought up. Or if you recall, 7 bags in the first day up the service elevators. Mr. Chad was not the valet that did that. He was mainly the valet that parked the vehicle of Mr. Paddock. So the fact that he is now vanished, let us address that. He is not vanished. Chad is alive and well. Chad, how you doing out there? I'm glad to see that you are alive and well. The fact that somebody said he vanished from Facebook, no, he didn't. October 3rd, he was on Facebook. What happened was Chad got famous and got some people out there talking about him. He didn't like it. A lot of people say, I want to be famous until they're famous. So he probably wanted to take some cover, and I don't blame him. He took cover, but he didn't vanish. Nobody took him out. He wasn't snuffed out. He's alive and well.
Thank you. I see more and more people are joining us here in the feed. If you have any questions or comments, anything that might start a discussion, you can drop it here in the comments, and I will try to cover it. Let's move on to some more people who are involved, mainly some witnesses. Apparently there were 7 key witnesses who might have saw something very important, and now there's reports that they have gone missing or they're now deceased. And there's reports that, well, these very important people who saw something are now deceased. Do you have any opinion on that?
First of all, this came from a website that talked about these key witnesses being snuffed out. Okay. Well, what was key about these people that passed? There was nothing key about them. They didn't have any additional information that we know of. This is the Las Vegas gangster snuffing people out theory. First of all, Vegas isn't owned by gangsters anymore. Let's put that to rest. Second of all is, what were the circumstances surrounding these suspicious deaths? So we'll go through them one at a time. First, Danny. I'm not going to use last names. Danny's death was ruled drug-related. That's simply what it was. It was a drug-related death, and it had nothing to do with the fact that he made a statement about 2 gunmen being shooters. Now listen, Danny's not the only one that said there were 2 gunmen. There was hundreds of people that have come out and said that they believe that there were 2 gunmen. Have those people been snuffed out? No. Danny was the only one. That makes 0 sense. Now let's go to Kimberly. Kimberly passed away in her sleep. Well, she had seizures and she was on medication for a tumor. By the way, folks, 7,000 people in the United States die every single day. Worldwide, 1 person is killed every 60 seconds by murder. I mean, there is a thing that people just die. It doesn't have to be related to this. And guess what? People do Vegas. Las Vegas isn't special that it's immune to human death, okay? So the fact that these people were dying is just not that unusual. We already talked about the valet, Chad. We know he's alive and well. And we got John, who killed himself and his daughter right around the time of this shooting. So the theory was, well, this was a violent act. It must be connected. That's silly nonsense. So the fact that several people up to 7 of these potential witnesses lost their life or passed away under suspicious circumstances during this time period or after the shooting really isn't related. It means nothing. People do die. It's not unheard of.
Chad, I'm watching the chat here, and there is some discussion in there. Mainly, someone is talking about a witness with the last name of Campos. I'm not sure if you're familiar with the name there, but people want to know, how does the FBI keep track of some of the key witnesses, or would the FBI allow these people to leave the country within a couple of days? What do you know the protocol behind this?
Okay, so they're talking about the security guard, Mr. Campos, I believe, and then he was going to do an interview, and then he left the interview process, and then he went on a vacation that was scheduled, apparently. That was in the police report, and people got very up in arms and a lot of suspicious behavior and questions related to his behavior because he was, I guess, suggested to skip town. Well, Mr. Campos is back. He gave an interview on Ellen. He has cooperated with the police and authorities, so there's no big issue there. Second of all is, how does the FBI keep a track of witnesses? Well, they keep a witness list. They log witnesses. They got a computer system that'll log witnesses, name, date of birth, information, what they're witnesses to, and then they do interviews, and they include those interviews in the summary. So yes, the FBI, the state officials do a great job of logging witnesses. I know that they've logged thousands of potential witnesses, even witnesses that are not victims. Many, many interviews have occurred. Those things are not released to us right now, but they are occurring.
Okay, and thank you for the question. I see lots of discussion. If you want to join the discussion, if you have a question, you can put it in the comments and we will try to cover it. I do want to move to the comments once again. Laura wants to know, do you have any information about any other casinos or hotels in the area that were also involved with the shooting, that had other gunshots with it? Do you have any information on other casinos?
Okay, thanks, Laura. I've heard this many times. I've even heard this from witnesses that I've talked to, that there were shootings at other casinos and there were bullet holes at other casinos. There was a shooting where there was a broken out window at another casino. There is no actual evidence that any of that occurred. So you would see video footage, right? Every casino has interior and exterior video footage. You would see that. You would see street footage. The cameras on the street would have shown this activity of happening. I think probably what happened, Laura, was this. People were very scared, and rightfully so. Because they were scared, they would get information from somebody else around them that there was another shooter. And then people would get scared and start running, and people would assume that there was another shooter even if there wasn't another shooter. But there's no evidence of any other shooters or involvements of any of the other casinos. This was limited to the Mandalay Bay and what happened at the venue.
Okay, speaking of other shooters, you've covered other casinos, but there's also plenty of talk about helicopters in the area and people saying that shooting was coming from helicopters as well. Do you have any information on that?
Okay, so there's stories about helicopters being there just before the shooting, and then there's other stories about the helicopters being there during the shooting. There's even these people that put together these programs to prove that the helicopters were there. There's no video evidence of helicopters being there during the shooting. There's no video evidence of helicopters having a shooter that was shooting at the crowd. There were 22,000 people. I myself have over 2,000 videos and audios of the event. None of them show any helicopter, no sounds from helicopters, none of that. The most interesting part of this one is this. Mr. Haig, he worked in the past at Boeing Helicopter. So suddenly, Mr. Haig, that sold these 700 bullets to Mr. Paddock, is now directly involved in the shooting. He is one of the co-conspirators, these conspiracy theorist people will say. Come on. He worked at Boeing in the helicopter division, and suddenly now he was controlling helicopters at the venue and people were getting shot from the helicopters. I mean, that's the kind of connection that conspiracy theorists do. They take one tiny salt of suggestion and turn it into evidence and then turn it into fact, and it's just hogwash. It's not true. And the problem as a lawyer that I have with that is now we're talking about helicopters and Mr. Haig and all this other nonsense rather than talking about MGM and their failures and Mandalay Bay and their failures and Live Nation and their failures and the security company at the venue and their failures. We're not talking about that. We're talking about silliness. It's just not true. There's no factual support for it. It did not happen.
Okay, thank you. And thank you for all the comments and discussion that is happening in the chat. If you do have anything personal that you'd like to say or something that we don't cover, you can always email lasvegas@chadpinkerton.com. You can also go to mandalaybayvictims.com and you can see any of the other information that we've covered, any of the other videos that we have posted as well. Chad, I'm going to move back to the chat here. And I had it right here. It was someone would like you to clear up any information with the Saudis. There's information that there's a Saudi prince involved. Do you have any information on that?
Okay, so there's two different stories out there. First, that there was a Saudi prince there that was on the floors above, and he took over the whole floor, and he was there, and he was actually the target, and Mr. Paddock's acts were simply a distraction so they can kill this Saudi person, or this Saudi prince. The problem with that is there's no evidence of the prince even being there. That's the first thing. Second of all, there's no evidence of any attack on any prince. So the theory is, look, let's bring some important figure that somebody may want to assassinate into the storyline and make a conspiracy. But there is zero evidence to support that. The next Saudi thing is it's connected to Donald Trump, right? There's this idea that Donald Trump had a deal with the Saudis, and that somehow is related to the Las Vegas shooting. But the conspiracy theorists don't tell you about the deal, what it was about, and how it could possibly be related to this shooting. It's just nonsense. But there's a motivation right there. I mean, there's a certain side of this public that you bring in the president, and they want to make him look bad. And then another side, you bring in Miss Clinton, and they want to make her look bad. So it's politically motivated. It just depends on where the information is coming from and what their motivations are about. But the fact of the matter is it's just not true. And there's no facts, and there's no evidence, and there's never going to be any evidence. Okay, Joey.
Okay, thank you. And I do want to bring up that the person who wanted clarification on that, his name was Scott. So thank you, Scott, for being active. Coming back to the chat, I see that Paige, she wants to know, was he really shot? Was Stephen Paddock actually killed? Do we have confirmation of that? She just wants that cleared up a little bit. Can you clear that up for us?
All right, so the idea is that Stephen Paddock is alive and well, and he wasn't really shot and killed. And there was this conspiracy theorist that came out, and he had this video, had like 600,000 views. I mean, if I could get 600,000 views, I would be ecstatic. But this guy, what he did was he went on the internet, and he held up a piece of paper with a date of October 6th. And then he cut over to a grainy picture of someone that looked like Stephen Paddock. Well, I've seen it. First of all, it doesn't even really look like Stephen Paddock, but that's no evidence at all. And that starts this suggestion that Stephen Paddock is alive and well, gambling at a poker table in a casino 5 days after this shooting. We know he's dead. The autopsy was done. He was pronounced dead at the scene. The documents and the evidence will show that it was actually him. The state and federal officials know how to identify somebody like this. Stephen Paddock, thank God, is dead.
Thank you, and thank you for the question, Paige. What would you say to somebody who claims they have pictures of Paddock? There's people who claim they have pictures of Paddock later on at a casino table or out and about. If somebody has that kind of evidence, which you're looking for, what would you want to see, or what would you say to those people who have pictures of him, supposedly?
Okay, so if people had pictures of Mr. Paddock, and good evidence that he was alive after this event, do you think it would be on YouTube? Or do you think this would be like national news? Like 60 Minutes would be doing a story on this, or Fox News, or somebody like that, some entity like that. Not YouTube, not a conspiracy theorist. And don't you think that that information would have been leaked to the public through a natural channel, which would be the police or the FBI? I mean, doesn't that make reasonable sense? The reason I say there's no pictures of Stephen Paddock after he killed himself in that room is because he's dead. At least no pictures of him alive. So you just got to think about the source. If you're seeing this source on YouTube or some other outlet where somebody's doing this in their basement and just doing their own little stories and making stuff up out of thin air, you know, you got to look at the source.
Of course. Thank you. And thank you for everyone being active in the chat. We are live here. If you have anything that you'd like to say that we don't cover, you can always email us at lasvegas@chadpinkerton.com, or you can go to mandalaybay.victims.com and you can see any of the videos that we've posted before. Coming back to the chat, there's plenty of people who are asking about camera footage of Stephen Paddock, saying, you mentioned that there's plenty of cameras in a casino and in a hotel. There's security, people watching security cameras. Can you give us any information as to why we don't see any video of Stephen Paddock?
You know, the answer to that's very simple. There's an ongoing investigation with the federal authorities and the state authorities, and they're not going to release that video anytime soon. That's why you're not seeing the video. The people that have possession of that video are not going to release it. The Mandalay Bay and MGM cannot release it. Now that the FBI has it and the state officials have it, they're doing an investigation and it won't be released. But there's plenty of video of what Mr. Paddock did. We know that because just look at the police report. The police report talks about the video, and it identifies Stephen Paddock in the video, going up the service elevator, carrying in bags. That's the video that's available. They went to other hotels where he had stayed in the past. They pulled that video. Every piece of video that was available to the authorities, I'm sure that they have, and they've combed through it, and they're going to continue to comb through it. But we don't have it because there's an ongoing investigation, and they believe that they have other persons of interest that they want to talk to and investigate. And until there is a final determination on the report and investigation, we're not going to see that video. Even as a lawyer, I file my lawsuit. I start discovery. If this investigation is ongoing, I'm not getting the video immediately. It's going to be sometime even for me. I represent 1,500 people that were killed, 50 plus people that were shot, hundreds of people that were injured, thousands of people with PTSD. I mean, I'm not going to get that, so you shouldn't expect that you would get it. In time, we will get it, and we should get it. The American public needs to see it, and they will. And you know why they'll see it? It's through a civil lawsuit just like this. Civil lawsuit like this is going to expose what actually happened, and we're going to be able to do it in a public forum in a court of law. So that's the way it's going to happen, but it's just not going to happen right now.
So because it's an ongoing investigation, there are still some things that can't come out to the mainstream public just yet. So thank you for clearing that up. I want to move on to one of the, I guess, more wild theories out there, is that some of these victims or some of the concert goers were actually paid actors. There's a post going around that there was a Craigslist ad looking for actors for various events around that time period as well, looking for 20, 30 plus actors. Do you have any information or opinions on if these people were actors or not?
Now, Joe, you're going to piss me off. I mean, I represent a lot of people that were severely injured or killed in this incident. And to suggest that there were actors that faked this is pretty disgusting. The theory is that there were actors and they see these same people at other shootings and they're trying to connect these people to other shootings. It's just nonsense. But you know what it really is? It's mean. It's disgusting. It's dastardly. Why would you demean these families that lost someone? Why would you demean somebody that got shot? I I mean, there's this fellow that went on TV as a victim, and then he got slammed with all these posts that he was some fake actor. By the way, folks, there's 1,500 shows a day in Vegas. They may need actors. It's not surprising that there would be a request on Facebook for actors. It's Las Vegas. But it is really disgusting to me for suggest that this thing was all fake and there was actors. I promise you, 58 people are dead, and I represent some of them. I've sat in the room with their families and talked about their loss. You might want to think about that before you spout out at the mouth that there's fake actors out there creating this story for some political agenda. I'm a little bit probably red in the face and irritated with this discussion, but it really is irritating. If you knew my clients and the victims of this tragedy, you wouldn't be saying that. You wouldn't be saying it. You shouldn't be saying it. All right, Joey, move on from that one before I irritate everybody on Facebook.
Of course, and thank you for clearing that up. And thank you for anyone who is dropping questions and contributing to the discussion here. We do appreciate it. Another theory that's out there, and I want to get your opinion on, is any reference to this and say the Illuminati or some sort of secret government agent saying that Stephen Paddock was a patsy to do something else. Do you have any information? Does this carry any weight to you?
Okay, so this is the Illuminati theory, which is the Illuminati is to blame for everything that's happened in the last 10 years in this country. It's floods, it's tragedies, it's lottery winners, it's every shooting that's ever occurred. There will be some connection. Here's the connection in this case. In Las Vegas, there's a pyramid and a sphinx. Well, no kidding. It's been there for years. Okay, there's also a stratosphere. Did the Martians do it? I mean, that's the kind of silliness we're talking about. I mean, there's also the Eiffel Tower. Was this the French that did it? It doesn't make any sense. But you take the idea that there's a pyramid and a sphinx in Vegas, and suddenly we have a conspiracy that some underground, unknown group was responsible. Here's who was responsible. Let's make this real easy. MGM, Mandalay Bay, Live Nation, CSC. That is who's responsible. Those are the entities and people that could have stopped this. It would not have happened if they would have just followed normal, standard, industry standard protocols for security. That's it. Not the Illuminati, not Martians from Mars, none of that. It's nonsense. Okay, go ahead, Joey.
Thank you. Coming back to the chat here, I do want to bring up, some people are questioning, seems to be a height, weight, and eye color difference between Stephen Paddock and what's on the coroner's report. There's plenty of people who are claiming that they don't match up because perhaps these are different people. There's even a report that his time of death shows an earlier time of death than what it was reported as to be. Do you have anything that you'd like to say on this subject?
Show me. Show me your autopsy report that you have that shows these difference in height, weight, eye color, and time of death. Show me that. If you've got it, put it on my Facebook page, on this, on my screen right now tonight, because it does not exist. I mean, this is the kind of stuff that just is made up. The eye color is correct. The weight is correct. The height is correct. The date of death, the time of death is correct. All of it's correct. Now, could different reports say he was 6 foot and he's 5'11" and a half, or he was 6'1", he was 6 foot and a quarter? I mean, I claim to be 6'1", but I'm just a hair under 6'1". I just want to be 6'1". It sounds better. I claim to be 205 pounds. I don't want you to tell my wife this, but I'm actually 208 pounds today. That's just nonsense. But if you have it, let's show the world tonight. Give it to me. Let me see the autopsy report. Let me see what you have, and let's take a look at it. Let's just expose this right now. All right? It's just not true.
Okay. And in efforts of, if anybody does have anything, you can always email it to lasvegas@chadpinkerton.com. And you can also see anything that we've covered before. We have covered lots of great topics in the past to help inform and get some more information out there. And you can go to mandalaybayvictims.com and you can see any of the videos that we have made in the past. And thank you to the chat. I hope that covered some of the questions that you were asking. I do want to come back to the chat real quick as well. People want to know, Stephen Paddock apparently had no training with guns. He wasn't a trained marksman or anything like that. And also some of these, the hotel is supposed to not have open windows, and these windows are supposed to be hurricane proof. How would he be able to do this kind of thing with no training and also open these windows?
Okay, let me answer that. First of all, you don't have to have training to be able to pull the trigger. It's pretty simple. You just pull the trigger and the bullet goes. Okay, that's how that works. You load the gun, you pull the trigger, you take it off safety, and you shoot. And the bullet, just magically, when you pull that trigger, it explodes out the barrel and it goes in a direction where you point it. But let's just really talk about this. Since 1982, Stephen Paddock's been buying guns. He owned 58 guns. He bought, over the 2 years before this event happened, he bought a ton of guns and weapons. We got reports of him going to shooting ranges. You don't have to have military training to do something like this. I mean, look at all the other shootings we've had across the United States. Were those people military trained? Did those people have any special training? Did the kids that did these things at schools have any training? No. They just had a gun and they started pulling the trigger and people got killed. That's what Stephen Paddock did. I mean, he's a disgusting, crazy individual that did a terrible act. But MGM, Mandalay Bay, Live Nation, and CSE should have stopped him. They had every opportunity to stop him, but they didn't. Did I answer the question?
I believe so. I do want to bring up, so you mentioned Stephen Paddock. He is at blame, for sure. There's some talk that Mandalay Bay and the people that are involved in the lawsuit, of course, you're going after them. They have deep pockets. They can cover this. What do you believe? Why does Mandalay Bay have any responsibility in this matter?
Okay, here's the plaintiff lawyer greed topic. I get it all the time. It doesn't offend me. This is what I do. I protect the rights of individuals. I'm not ashamed of it. I drank the Kool-Aid and I believe in what I do because I know I help people and I know I make change for the people and the victims in cases like this. I've done it for many years and I'm proud of it. I'm not ashamed of it. And that's my job. My job is to punish those involved for what they did to cause this incident. And the fact that MGM and Mandalay Bay and CSC and Live Nation may have a lot of money, it doesn't matter. They're the ones responsible. Listen, we've got this Michigan State issue, and we got these girls that were molested. But then you look at the institution, you say, you know what, you had information on it and you didn't act. You had protocols, but you didn't use them. And all these girls that were molested by this sick doctor could have been avoided. It all could have been avoided with the institution doing what they should have done. And I think everybody sees that. It's pretty obvious that, yes, there is a child rapist involved, but what was the institution doing? It's the same case here, just different factual scenario. A man pulled the trigger and killed people, and he is a horrible individual who is now dead. But there was an institution and several institutions that had the ability and the authority to act in a proper manner to protect the people from Mr. Paddock. MGM invited every single one of those people that were at that concert venue, all 22,000. They invited them there. They wanted them to be there. Why did they want them to be there? They wanted their money. But they didn't want to provide security. They need to be punished. And in this lawsuit, that's what's going to happen. They're going to get punished. And how do you punish a company? You don't put a company in jail. That's not the way the civil system works. How you punish a company is you hit them where it hurts, and you hit them in the pocket. And throughout the course of my career, I have found no better way to make a company change. I'll give you a perfect example. British Petroleum, they blew up their plant here in 2005, killed people. They continue to kill people here in Texas City for a long time after that. And guess where they're at now? They're not in Texas anymore. They sold their plant and left because they couldn't make it safe. And lawyers kept bringing them to court, and now they're gone. Now a good company, Marathon, a Texas company, owns it. And guess how many deaths we've had? Just guess. That's my point. If you want to make change with a company, you got to hit them where it hurts, so they'll either change or go away.
Thank you for that. And thank you for everyone who's contributing to the chat. I believe we're going to just cover a couple more things and wrap this up real quick. If there's something that we didn't cover, you can email lasvegas@chadpinkerton.com, or we might have covered it in a different video that we do post at mandalaybayvictims.com. So you can go there, and I know we do cover some of the fault that the casino holds and other things of that nature. Chad, just to bring up, I believe, one last point. Someone involved in the discussion named Paige, she was at the event, and she wants a little clarification on security as to why she says that she was able to get into an area that was only supposed to be accessed if you had access to the head of security. And there's claims that Stephen Paddock went to areas that you can only get to if there's security there. Can you give us any information as to the security at this event?
Okay, so we had a horrible event. People were scared. We're all human. And then there were lots of people that said they got to hotels or places within hotels to take cover, and were led into even hotel rooms by other patrons in areas where that they shouldn't have been after this event. But after this event, people were scared, and people were responding to help other people to get them into safe places. But what we do know is that, yes, Stephen Paddock had access to the service elevators. He went up and down with his bags with the help of valet over and over again. I mean, that's number one on why MGM and Mandalay Bay would be responsible. How does that happen? How did they not have security at the service elevators? That's a private elevator, no security. How, after this event, did Mandalay Bay allow an investigative reporter undercover to go up and down that same elevator with no security? I mean, even one of the hotel housekeeping crew waved at him. Didn't call security, just let them go up. That's just an ignorance to protocol. So we shouldn't be surprised that MGM and Mandalay Bay did not follow security protocols. They didn't do 25 things. So the fact that they weren't securing the service elevators, that's just one of them. The fact that you, Paige, were able to get to safety and get somewhere where you probably shouldn't have been, well, I'm glad, because I hope that saved your life, and that's good for you. But the security was bad at the hotel, and it was bad at the venue. So I'm glad you got there, but it's not surprising. We're all human. It was chaos, and I'm glad you did get to a place that was safe.
So to sum up, just a lack of security and bad security all around is one of the reasons that you're pursuing them in this lawsuit, and I appreciate you clearing that up. Everyone, I do appreciate the discussion happening in the chat. We do check this throughout the week as well. I believe we're going to end this for tonight. If there's anything we didn't cover, please, you can email lasvegas@chadpinkerton.com. And also, we might have covered it in a different video. We do have plenty of those located at mandalaybayvictims.com, and you can go there and see anything else that we have covered with these videos. Chad, do you have any closing remarks for the night?
This is all I would say. We have 58 people dead, 500 people plus shot, thousands injured, 22,000 people with PTSD. Could we please just refocus the attention in the public? If you keep clicking on these videos with conspiracy theories, then we are ignoring the obvious. And the obvious is going to be the truth. The truth is going to be this: MGM failed these people. Mandalay Bay failed these people. CSC and Live Nation failed these people. All this other stuff is simply a distraction. I'm guessing it's not an intentional distraction. They just want to talk and they want attention, but it is a distraction. Think of these families, think of these victims. Stop looking at this stuff. Look at real news and real facts so you can understand not only how this happened, but how as a nation can we make this better in the future? How can we make sure that this type of event never happens again? That's what this lawsuit's going to be about. Thank you for your time, folks. I know I'm a little bit irritable on this topic. I don't mean any offense to anybody, but as a lawyer, I try to look at the facts. I don't look at conspiracy theories or guesswork or stories that are made up. I need to work in the realm of facts and need to be able to prove things in a court of law. And this stuff simply is a distraction. Thanks for your time. I will see you next week, and I'll send out a date and time.